It can always escalate. It can be one event that triggers something, and that's my worry. I'm not for a bunch of violent protesting. I'm glad it's been peaceful on both sides. They're showing some restraint I think on each side. I don't like to see violent protests, but the country's been built on protesting when you feel that the government's doing things that aren't just.
Attorney General Pam Bondi just got absolutely destroyed by federal judge, and what judge revealed is going to blow your mind. Judge Beryl Howell issued nationwide injunction blocking Bondi's Justice Department from detaining 14 Democratic members of Congress who were arrested yesterday. Let that sink in. Trump administration arrested sitting members of Congress, including AOC and Adam Schiff, arrested them without warrants, without probable cause, just grabbed them and threw them in detention. Why? Because they were investigating Venezuela raid and Trump's crimes. And judge just exposed the whole operation, found server logs showing DOJ created targeting lists specifically labeled DEMS list to identify which lawmakers to arrest first. This wasn't law enforcement. This was political persecution. This was arresting your opponents to shut down investigations. And judge's ruling is devastating. Called it systematic retaliation against legislative oversight. Said Bondi violated separation of powers. Said arrests were unconstitutional attack on Congress's authority. And now Bondi is panicking because evidence proves she was running political enemy list operation. But real quick, before we get into this, please subscribe, because you might think you are, but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. That's why we built Patrick Smith Show, to bring you real stories, real context. All right, let's get into what actually happened, because this is one of most serious abuses of power in American history. Trump administration arrested 14 Democratic lawmakers on January 10th, yesterday. Took them into federal custody. No warrants, no charges filed, just arrests. And why were they arrested? Because they were investigating Trump's Venezuela operation, because they were looking into civilian casualties, because they were pursuing impeachment, because they were doing their constitutional jobs as members of Congress. Share this video with everyone you know, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been leading House inquiry into Venezuela civilian deaths. Adam Schiff was coordinating Intelligence Committee investigation into raid authorization. Other arrested members serve on judiciary and oversight committees with direct responsibility for impeachment proceedings. So Bondi arrested exactly the people leading investigations into Trump, arrested the most vocal critics, arrested the ones demanding documents and testimony. That's not coincidence, that's targeting. And legal basis Bondi claimed was obstruction of justice. Said Democratic lawmakers were interfering with ongoing DOJ investigations by demanding documents and testimony. But that's insane. That inverts entire constitutional structure. Congress has explicit authority to conduct oversight of executive branch. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. President can't claim that congressional investigation obstructs executive function. Investigation is congressional function. Bondi was trying to criminalize Constitution itself. Think about what that means. She was saying, if you investigate us, we'll arrest you. If you demand documents, that's obstruction. If you subpoena witnesses, that's interference. If you do your job as member of Congress, you go to jail. That's not democracy. That's dictatorship. That's exactly what authoritarian regimes do. Arrest political opponents, criminalize opposition, use law enforcement to eliminate dissent. And it was happening here in America under Bondi's direction. Now, judge's ruling exposes how systematic this operation was. Server logs introduced as evidence show DOJ personnel created and maintained targeting list, literally called it DEMS list, not criminals list, not suspects list, DEMS list, political party as target. And logs show list was updated based on members' oversight activities. When member made public statement about investigation, they got added to list. When member called for documents, they got prioritized. When member subpoenaed witness, they moved up the queue. Make sure you're subscribed to Patrick Smith Show, because this proves arrests had nothing to do with crimes, had everything to do with politics. They weren't targeting people who broke laws. They were targeting people who investigated Trump. Server logs show it explicitly. DOJ was tracking which Democrats were most active in oversight, which ones were pushing hardest for accountability, which ones were most effective at getting information. and those were the ones Bondi arrested. Judge Howell called this systematic retaliation against legislative oversight. That's legal term with specific meaning. Means government punishing people for exercising constitutional rights. In this case, punishing members of Congress for conducting investigations they're constitutionally required to conduct. That's not just illegal, that's attack on constitutional structure itself. That's attempt to eliminate checks and balances by arresting the checkers. An injunction doesn't just cover 14 who were already arrested. It blocks 27 total arrests that were planned, meaning Bondi had 13 more Democrats on her list, was going to keep arresting until she'd neutralized entire investigation, until she'd imprisoned everyone who was looking into Trump's crimes. Scope of this targeting operation is staggering. More than 24 members of Congress marked for arrest, not for crimes, for oversight. Kash Patel testified earlier today that arrest operation was coordinated with White House. That means Trump personally approved arresting opposition legislators. Patel confirmed that arrest lists were reviewed in Oval Office meetings, that Trump specifically approved moving forward with detaining members who were most vocal about impeachment. So this wasn't just Bondi going rogue. This was Trump ordering his attorney general to arrest people investigating him. That's obstruction of justice. That's abuse of power. That's impeachable offense all by itself. Think about constitutional violations here. Article 1 gives Congress all legislative powers, including power to investigate. Speech or debate clause says members can't be questioned in any other place for their legislative activities. Arresting members for conducting oversight violates both provisions directly. This isn't gray area. This isn't legal debate. This is clear constitutional violation. And Bondi did it anyway because Trump ordered it. Share this with everyone because connection to Venezuela makes this even worse. These arrests were designed to prevent Congress from exposing civilian casualties, from revealing that 132 people died, including 23 children, from holding Trump accountable for war crimes. Bondi was arresting investigators before they could complete their work, before they could present evidence to public, before they could bring charges. That's cover-up through political imprisonment. And 14 members who were detained spent night in federal custody. Think about that. Elected representatives of American people were locked up by executive branch for doing their jobs. AOC in detention, Schiff in detention, 12 others, all because they investigated president. That's not supposed to happen in America. That's what happens in authoritarian countries where opposition gets arrested. But it happened here, yesterday, under Trump's orders. Bondi's reaction tells you everything about how bad this is for her. Scheduled press conference canceled, team scrambling, refusing to answer questions because server logs destroyed her defense. Can't claim she was just enforcing law when evidence shows she was enforcing political enemy list. Can't say arrests were based on evidence when logs show they were based on oversight activities. Can't pretend this was legitimate when DEMS list proves it was targeting. She tried to file emergency appeal of injunction, wants to keep arresting Democrats, wants to continue shutting down investigations, but appeal will fail. Constitutional violations are too clear. Evidence of political targeting is too explicit. No appellate court is going to approve arresting legislators for conducting oversight. That's so obviously unconstitutional that even Trump-appointed judges won't touch it. Bondi's appeal is desperation. Attempt to maintain appearance of legal process while her entire operation collapses. And Trump's response shows he's completely lost touch with reality. Posted that judges are protecting corrupt Democrats, that Bondi did great work. He's praising unlawful arrest of members of Congress, calling judges who enforce Constitution radical, celebrating political imprisonment, while facing his own arrest. Man has no understanding of constitutional limits, no comprehension that arresting your opponents is illegal, no grasp that this is exactly what dictators do. Now let me walk you through what this means for ongoing investigations and impeachment, because freed members can now continue their work, can complete investigations without fear of being arrested, can subpoena witnesses, can demand documents, can present evidence. Bondi's arrest operation was designed to stop all of that, to decapitate investigations by removing leaders, but it failed. Judge blocked it. Members are freed. Work continues. Documents they subpoenaed about Venezuela will now be produced. Witnesses they called will testify. Evidence of civilian casualties and cover-up will be presented to Congress and public. Everything Bondi tried to prevent by arresting investigators is going to happen anyway, because you can't stop constitutional process by arresting people who conduct it. System survived this assault. Barely, but it survived. An impeachment vote gains another article based on this. Abuse of power through political imprisonment. High crime that founders specifically contemplated when designing impeachment. Trump ordered arrest of members of Congress to stop them from investigating him. That's textbook impeachable offense. That's exactly what impeachment was created to address. And votes scheduled for tonight will include this evidence. Think about what that means. GOP defections are accelerating because of this. Republicans who were defending Trump yesterday are backing away today because arresting Democrats to stop investigations is indefensible. Can't spin it. Can't justify it. Can't claim it's legitimate law enforcement when server logs prove it was political targeting. So Republicans are breaking. 52 have defected according to latest counts. More coming as they realize they can't defend arresting Congress. Judge Howell's ruling includes devastating language about separation of powers. Says Congress has absolute authority to investigate executive branch conduct. That arresting members for exercising that authority is direct assault on constitutional structure. That Bondi's actions weren't enforcement but elimination of legislative checks on executive power. Those findings matter because they establish legal precedent. Future courts will cite this ruling. Future attorneys general will be constrained by it. Bondi's abuse becomes warning to successors. And implications for Bondi personally are severe. Her credibility as law enforcement official is destroyed. She can't claim to be pursuing justice when evidence shows she pursued political enemies. Her testimony in any proceeding is now suspect. Her actions as Attorney General are now evidence of conspiracy, not prosecution. She's transformed from prosecutor to defendant, facing potential charges for constitutional violations, for political imprisonment, for conspiracy to obstruct congressional oversight. This connects to broader pattern of Trump administration criminality. They arrested members of Congress. They ordered FBI director to suppress evidence. They attacked Constitution as scam. They called for civil war. Every action confirms picture of administration that rejected democratic governance entirely. That was willing to cross any line to maintain power. That treated law as obstacle to be overcome, not framework to be followed. 29 federal judges have now ruled against Trump administration on various matters. That's unprecedented. No administration in history has faced this level of judicial rejection. Courts have functioned as founders intended, checking executive overreach at every turn, but damage done before those checks activated is severe. 14 members of Congress were imprisoned. Investigations were delayed. Evidence was nearly buried. System worked, but barely. Now let's talk about what happens next. Because freed members are mobilizing. AOC already announced she's holding press conference tomorrow detailing her detention experience. Schiff is preparing testimony for impeachment proceedings about being arrested for investigating president. Other members are coordinating to ensure this abuse becomes central part of impeachment case. They're not backing down. They're doubling down. And investigations that Bondi tried to stop are accelerating. Venezuela inquiry will now include not just civilian casualties, but also attempt to cover them up through political arrests. Impeachment investigation will include obstruction through imprisoning investigators. Every committee these members serve on is now investigating their own arrests. Bondi created more investigations by trying to stop investigations. Classic authoritarian blunder. Bondi's emergency appeal is already facing skepticism from legal experts. Constitutional law professors saying there's no legitimate basis to appeal injunction that blocks unconstitutional arrests. That speech or debate clause is absolute protection for legislative activities. That no court will approve arresting members for oversight. Bondi's appeal is dead on arrival. She's just filing it to delay inevitable, to maintain pretense of legal process. And witnesses are coming forward about how arrests were conducted. Members describe being grabbed by federal agents without explanation, being denied access to lawyers, being held in detention facilities without charges, being told they were under arrest for obstruction, but not being told what they allegedly obstructed. That's kidnapping, not law enforcement. That's political imprisonment, not prosecution. Think about implications for future. If Trump had succeeded, if judge hadn't issued injunction, if members had stayed imprisoned, what would that mean for democracy? President could arrest anyone investigating him, could imprison opposition, could eliminate checks and balances by locking up people who provide them. That's end of constitutional government, that's dictatorship, and we came within judges' ruling of that reality. This is why judicial independence matters, why separation of powers exists, why founders designed system with multiple branches checking each other. Because any one branch with unchecked power becomes tyranny. Trump tried to eliminate legislative check by arresting legislators. Judicial check stopped him. System worked. But reliance on system working isn't enough. People who attempted this must face consequences. Bottom line is this. Federal judge exposed that Pam Bondi arrested 14 Democratic members of Congress without warrants or probable cause to stop them from investigating Trump. Server logs prove DOJ created DEMS list targeting members based on oversight activities, not criminal evidence. Kash Patel testified Trump personally approved arrests in Oval Office meetings. Bondi claimed members were obstructing justice by conducting investigations, but that inverts constitutional structure and criminalizes legislative function. Judge Howell issued nationwide injunction blocking all 27 planned arrests, called it systematic retaliation against legislative oversight, said Bondi violated separation of powers, said arrests were unconstitutional attack on Congress's authority. 14 members who were detained are now freed, including AOC and Schiff. 13 who were targeted but not yet arrested are protected. Investigations can continue without fear of political imprisonment. Bondi's scheduled press conference canceled. Emergency appeal filed but will fail. Constitutional violations too clear. Evidence of political targeting too explicit. Her credibility as law enforcement official destroyed. May face her own charges for conspiracy and constitutional violations. Trump praised arrests and called judges radical, showing complete loss of grip on constitutional limits and reality. This adds article to impeachment about abuse of power through political imprisonment. GOP defections accelerating to 52 because arresting Congress is indefensible. Freed members mobilizing to make their arrests central part of impeachment case. Investigations that Bondi tried to stop are accelerating with added focus on cover-up attempt. 29 judges have now ruled against Trump administration. System of checks and balances survived this assault, but barely. Only because judges refuse to allow constitutional destruction. Damage is severe. Precedent is dangerous. People who attempted this must face consequences or it will be repeated. Democracy survived this night, but victory was close. Too close. This story continues. Stay tuned.